with cycle and pedestrian safety. This topic relevant more so than ever with the unfortunate passing of a city resident in Albemarle County at the beginning of this week. Nancy and Angela both have been touched by this issue firsthand with cycle death and a serious cycle injury in their family tree. Specifically, from Angela's standpoint, a spinal cord injury with her husband.
Yes.
So a lot we're going to talk about. We'll also put innovative mindsets on and kind of do some crystal ball or some projections or like this is what could be with the Albemarle County trail system, cycle safety, pedestrian safety, as we try to innovate some solutions for the municipality in solving what's been, heck, I've been in Albemarle County for 21 years, and for 21 years we've been talking about cycle and pedestrian safety. And I said earlier this week on the show, guys, that it takes, it's 1, 2, 3 people a year that are dying or having significant injuries in Albemarle County, and enough is enough. So we'll have this conversation with two agents of positive change here in a matter of moments on the show. If you could do me a favor, give it a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We're live across the interwebs on every social media platform known to mankind. Judah Wickhauer, I'm feeling pretty good. My friend, we're in your hands. Good Thursday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. We are live in Charlottesville, across Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network, a dynamic platform that allows you, the viewer and the listener, to offer some perspective to change the pace and tempo of the discussion. Today, as promised, we're going to prioritize cycle and pedestrian safety in Central Virginia with an eye on Albemarle County. We had earlier this week the unfortunate passing of a city of Charlottesville resident in Ivy while on a bicycle. It seems like every year we're dealing with 1, 2, 3 deaths from a pedestrian or cycle standpoint. And folks, probably more serious injuries than that. So we're going to take a look at this topic from a stakeholder's eye. And what I mean by a stakeholder's eye is our guests have been touched by cycle safety or lack thereof closely. For example, Angela Lynn, who's going to join us in a matter of moments, her husband suffered a serious spinal cord injury while on a bicycle. And Nancy Gill, the former mayor of Scottsville, is in our studio, and she had a family member, VMI graduate, who died while on a bicycle and being struck by a vehicle. So Judah Wickhauer is our director. Why don't we go to the studio camera, if you could, Judah Wickhauer, and let's welcome Angela Lynn and Nancy Gill to the show. First, how about an introduction from Angela, if you could introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
I'm Angela Lynn, and I live in Albemarle County. I've been privileged to be able to say that I've worked on boards here, and that's how I met Nancy Gill. We shared a board membership with the social service as a social service advisory board, and since then we've had shared interests that we have communicated about different issues in the county, but this particular issue with cycling safety came up years ago, and then after my husband's accident, we reconnected about what we'd like to see happen going forward to avoid more cycle injuries and cycle deaths in the county.
Now, you live in Western Albemarle.
I live in Western Albemarle, a very desirable, beautiful place to ride. And more cyclists are on the roads there. And when I left my house this morning, I passed 3. My thoughts are that I love seeing them. I think it's an amazing, wonderful way to stay healthy.
COVID safe.
COVID safe,
Yeah.
and I heard that the bicycles, they ran out of cycles to sell because so many people wanted to get out. And since then, I've seen more people on the bikes as well because of just getting out in the outdoors and seeing what we have, especially this time of year with all the flowering trees and spring is very desirable.
It's a beautiful place,
Right.
no doubt. Let's get Nancy in the mix here. Background on yourself.
As you mentioned, I am the former mayor of Scottsville, but more importantly, I am co-chair of an organization called HERE, which is Health, Equity, and Access in Rural Regions. So it's not only the bicycling, getting outside that's very important to me, but it's also getting safe areas for people to walk. And that fits in with our mission with HERE is to start building happy, healthy communities.
Albemarle County, Nancy, how would you grade or characterize its cycle and pedestrian safety infrastructure? From my perspective, seems like when you're riding your bike or you're walking around the city of Charlottesville, you got clearly marked bike lanes, especially on roads like West Main, like South Street, like Ridge, highly trafficked or lanes that are kind of like the thoroughfares to get folks around the city. Once you get kind of to that invisible city-county line, you lose them. They're not there. How would you grade or characterize its infrastructure?
I would say there isn't any as far as safe places for bicyclists and pedestrians. And I can say just through the initiative that I'm involved with, we've spoken with a lot of people, and it used to be people could walk on these roads and feel very safe, but now you have individuals speeding, texting, talking on their phone, and really not paying attention. So the health quality has also gone down because of the lack of safe areas for people to get out and just walk to their neighbor's house.
Sure, well said. And you were exactly right. Bicycle interest is boomed. It's a direct byproduct of COVID-19. When you're on a bicycle, you're outside. When you're on a bicycle, you're automatically 6 or 7 feet away from somebody else. Yeah. So interest is booming. And then you combine that with, as you described, such a beautiful landscape, especially spring, summer, fall, with the leaves changing and the temperature being right. We do have a lot of riders out about in Albemarle County. So you guys are, for lack of a better phrase, I would say almost lobbyists for bicycle and pedestrian safety and improved infrastructure across Albemarle. So the obvious is this: we have a problem. What are the solutions? How do we fix it?
Well, one of the problems is these county roads have the illusion of being safe because people go out there and they see these small roads and they think they can take these, and they don't put into the calculation that they're blind turns, that they're very narrow, that there's times where a vehicle is going to be on you immediately and not be able to stop, or you can't get off of it because there's an embankment or there's a problem with the space. So I would like to see these routes marked, designated for anybody who's maybe not familiar with our county, but also there's certain routes that they want to take. They want to go to Wintergreen. They want to go. My husband got up every day and rode to places like Wintergreen.
Sure.
It was something that he enjoyed doing. There was no way I was going to say to him, "Don't do that," but there was a risk involved.
Sure.
I think I anticipated a phone call every time he went out. And it's a terrible thing to have this premonition that this is going to turn out bad. And one day I got that call. And the reason was the turn he took was a blind turn, and there was a parked vehicle where you couldn't see it, and he never, if he didn't have a helmet on, he would have been dead. He hit without seeing it, hit the helmet and broke his neck. And that spinal cord injury, those types of things may not even be a blip on a news
Sure.
report.
Right.
So many people came to talk to me afterwards that they'd been hit by a car in Charlottesville or out in the county, and they didn't have the injury my husband had, but it showed that.
For those that are just tuning in now, her husband suffered a severe spinal cord injury while on a bicycle in Albemarle County.
Correct. 2 years ago.
2 years ago, going around a blind turn, there was a parked vehicle.
A mail truck.
A mail truck.
Mm-hmm.
And he road bike directly crashed into the parked vehicle, the spinal cord injury. What's the solution? So like I said, for 21 years, we've been talking about this, and I will give credit where credit's due. I have seen the city improve. When I came here and, as a student and was riding my bike around, there wasn't the commitment to bike lanes or markings on the road, or as much commitment to bike lanes even on secondary roads. But in the county, you just don't see it. Like, how about this? Before we assess the solution, what are the financial problems for finding a solution?
They're huge. This is not an easy task to undertake, because you have to first, like Angela alluded to, dedicated bicycle routes.
Uh-huh.
So perhaps that's where we start, whether it's with the supervisors and VDOT, whether it's community advocates, whether it's bicycle groups. I think we all have to get together and decide where to start. You can't just do every road in Albemarle County, but maybe specific ones that bicyclists really gravitate toward.
So you would make, your suggestion, Nancy, is to make the road specific only to bicycles and or pedestrian?
No.
Okay. Mark them.
Mark
'em.
Okay.
Have specific roads
Okay.
that are designated more safe than others.
Okay.
And maybe start improving them and then build out from there. So you can't do everything at once.
Sure.
But if you have a community group that knows the roads, they know cycling, and they sit down with VDOT and the supervisors and just advocate for getting something done.
Peter Krebs is coming on tomorrow from the Piedmont Environmental Council to talk about this topic. He's coming on at 12:30, guys, in person. No, Judah, he's via Skype tomorrow, 12:30. So which roads would they be?
Well, the one that the gentleman was killed on, 250, the marking on the road stops at Boar's Head.
Right.
Why doesn't it continue?
Well, because Boar's Head is owned by the University of Virginia.
But
and
again,
they want their guests to come out of the Boar's Head into a nice little bike lane and get into the city of Charlottesville.
We have bike paths to nowhere. You have to be able to have something that has a continuum. And I just drove that to get here, and I was looking at where
250 is a brutal road for a bicycle.
Absolutely. Garth is worse, and they take Garth Road. Because those are the routes that they want to get to these.
Because they're pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about making sure they're marked the entire way. That's one solution. Making sure there is a lane that is designated for bikes only and no cars are in that lane.
Are those roads wide enough to do that? Because they can barely accommodate two cars going by, head to head on opposite lanes.
Right.
And there's not a shoulder.
Right. If there isn't the room, then the vehicles themselves need to understand that this is a bike designated road, and it would probably be more bike traffic than less. We have a lot of people who are angry about that, which is sad.
Angry how so?
As motorists, they don't like seeing the bikes. They don't want to see them out there. As if they were only built for their cars or their trucks or their agricultural vehicles. That's just not true. When we pave the roads, we share them. It's not being embraced. And I think that needs to be embraced. And the cyclists themselves have to understand these blind turns in these areas are, it's just, don't give the illusion that it's now where you go down the middle of the road and everybody's going to be safe, because that's just not true. And I feel like the tourism will improve out there because of the desire to cycle, and because of the be able to go to the different venues that are being created. A separate bike path all the way out towards Scottsville and out towards the wineries and breweries would be.
That would be awesome.
I think a lot of people would benefit from it, not just the cyclists and not just the people who own the venues. So I would really hope nobody is in the situation that Nancy's family and I are in, with something that happened because somebody wanted to do something healthy. And so I see the future as more bikes and more pedestrians. And to make that friendly, I think we have to be proactive, and then we have to start looking at infrastructure money has to count this in.
It's such an interesting topic, because if we really wanted to unpack it, we could unpack it into the lack of ubiquitous and approachable public transportation in Albemarle County. Because if Albemarle County had better public transportation, then that would also take cars off the road, which would improve cycle and pedestrian safety across Albemarle. So that's a topic I'm going to bring up with the ladies here in the back end. What's Scottsville's take on this? I mean, I would imagine Scottsville would want as many of us all over Albemarle or the city of Charlottesville. I mean, good night. Think about this, Nancy. We hop on a bicycle and we ride to Scottsville to spend money at like James River Brewery or Tavern on the James, and then we hop on our bicycle, we leave. We're not even taxing the roads. We're not like taxing like the infrastructure. I mean, what's Scottsville's take on this? And the second part of the question is, because you're obviously a problem solver, the second part of the question is like, is there legitimately a trail or path or bike system that could connect even southern Charlottesville to Scottsville?
You mean Scottsville to Charlottesville?
That's why I said it that way for you.
We would love to have a healthy connection between Scottsville and Charlottesville, and getting people off 20, because we talk about
20's tough.
Bicycle accidents. How many deaths have we had in the past 5 years on Route 20? And I think if you count them, you'll see you're using both hands. As far as infrastructure that's there, it isn't. I can't see extending the roadbed to accommodate a bike/pedestrian path. But
that would cost too much.
It would cost a lot. We do have utility lines, and I don't know if we can get added easements on those to build something. I think it's really important to get people off the road, and even when you have bicycle lanes that are part of the road bed, there's still debris in them. I mean, I was driving down Mill Creek, they were mowing, there's grass cuttings, there's gravel, and that's dangerous as well. So it's not just building them, it's maintaining.
What's your take?
I think what really makes me sad about having to have a conversation about cars versus bikes is when I heard from my daughters, one in Richmond when she was at VCU, saying that they purposely drove her off the road, vehicles did, sideswiped her once, and wanted to hurt her to get her off the road. That's a painful thought, that people would be that angry with a cyclist. And the other was from my another daughter who said they had a painted bike sign on the street, and a motorist stopped her and was, get off the road, and it's not, and this is for bicycles, because that's for motorcycles. But it was a painting of a bicycle. Why is there anger that somebody's preferred mode of transportation is a bicycle?
Yeah, there shouldn't be anger.
No.
It's great for the environment. It's great for quality of life, people's health.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing something healthy. I applaud that. But I'm also worried about them. I now, because this world that I'm in with somebody who's been injured on a bike, can't go past a cyclist and not think, oh, I hope they know there's a blind turn there, and here comes a car. I hope they see them. You know, I'm worried that it's just a matter of time where near my home there's going to be another accident, and of course there's a lot of unreported ones because they don't end up being as severe. But it's still something that I feel like we have said, well, yeah, we'll just push that down the road, and it'll be, you know, a trend that'll leave us. And I just do not believe that. I think this is something that is good, that we're getting more people interested in cycling.
Well, I think it's two trends. I think it's that trend for sure, what you just said. And I think the second trend is this will continue to be a dangerous point for the county because we're putting more bike riders on the roads. More bike riders are on the roads than ever before, and a lot of these are novice bike riders and cyclists on the roads because they picked up the hobby during COVID. And it's not like this is a passion that's been years in the making. Kevin Higgins, one of our viewers, is watching the show. Kevin, I believe you live in Albemarle County. He says, how can biking be safe with the explosion in traffic in western Albemarle with seemingly no road improvements planned?
That's right.
I wouldn't even walk on some of these high traffic roads now. I drive these roads every day. It's not safe. A runner was killed right up from the Boar's Head in front of Northridge. It's not safe at all. I agree 100% with this comment from Kevin Higgins. I think the first step to solving, or not solving, because I don't think you can solve this with like one step, two step. It's probably going to be a multi-purpose, multi-plan, multi-step process over years, if not decades, to improving bike safety and pedestrian safety in Albemarle County. But I think the first step that you do is what you guys have been highlighting. We need better signage. Mm-hmm. Signage is something that's affordable and can be done without digging up the roads and the underground utilities. Because if you really think about it, a lot of the roads are not heavily marked with signs encouraging motorists to keep their eyes out for bikers and or runners on these roads. There's some signs, but they could easily be marked much heavier. Another idea which you guys have emphasized is this this branding of a cycle trail, almost like the Charlottesville Ale Trail or the Blue Ridge Brew Trail. If people knew that this trail existed and it was branded with a cyclist type theme behind it, then people would know, okay, we got to be really careful here because this is where the bike riders go to the breweries and the wineries, Southern Albemarle, Eastern Albemarle, Northern Albemarle, Western Albemarle. That is actually not a bad idea, and that's something that could probably be done through the CACVB and tourism, and using tourism dollars to create this system, because you can leverage it by saying it's going to drive new customers and incremental revenue to the breweries and the wineries, and then Albemarle will get the return on investment in the back end with the new people going to the breweries and wineries to patronize them. So you're basically saying, let's create this new little ecosystem that's built around bicycle, a bike trail, and if you brand it with a name, and then if you clearly mark it with signs on the trail, and you tell the world or you tell the region, this is where you go to ride your bike to go to breweries and wineries, that is going to create interest, which would mean incremental revenue for the municipality, and it's also going to create awareness, and a byproduct of awareness is safety.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I would like to see this throughout the state.
That is a great idea.
But we're looking at Albemarle now.
We should totally do that. That is seriously a great idea.
Well, we have the wine trail. We have the artisan trail.
You have the brewerage trail.
The brewery. Why don't we have
a cycle trail?
Yes.
And the cycle trail could have keystones or this is a really freaking good idea. I'm glad you guys reached out to me about this. It could have stops, and the stops are where you could get like some water or some refreshments or some beer or some wine, and you're resting.
Lunch,
and then you go to the next one. And then if we all know that this trail exists, we're going to drive more safely on this trail.
You may get more people out of
cars.
Yeah.
And it also educates the motorist. And
Yes.
I think that's also
Yes.
a piece of it is you need to educate.
This is our future to share these roads, and how do we do it where it's not it's where it was planned. I think for me personally, I never regretted the day I married an athlete. I think having some person who loves to work out had kept him, even when he got hurt, kept him going, still keeps him going. He does a Zwift bike now, which is this bike, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a system that you can feel like you're competing on the road, and you've got an electronic, you looking at the TV screen or a monitor, and you're riding, and you can still compete. I feel like those things help you mentally, emotionally, and physically to have these types of things in your life, to have a hobby that's cycling.
Oh, for sure.
So, how do we, instead of trying to get our loved ones to rethink this, because
we don't. He's not to blame. He's not.
And the parents of the poor young man in D.C. who was killed a few days ago and was hours before saying that the city was dangerous and then was killed. His parents were saying, they didn't. How do we? Maybe we should have rethought
100%
riding in the. Yeah. There's no way that I would want people not to ride bikes.
Right.
I just feel right now the safety factor is so, it has to be on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for this amount of accidents and death. These are preventable.
Angela,
They are.
I respect so much what you're doing here, Angela. What you're doing takes so much courage. You're basically you are showing your very raw pain and emotion that your family has experienced from a bicycle accident that severely impacted your husband's health, spinal cord injury. And you've processed this and gone through the grief stage where you now can manifest courage to talk about this in a microphone in an extremely open setting that's going to live forever online. And you're doing this for the betterment of the community.
Well,
I respect.
I had to ask my husband's permission to do this,
Sure.
because it's his life that we're displaying. But
I respect what you're doing so much. I respect what you're doing so much. You're being an evangelist, or you're giving, or you're shining a spotlight into something that you think is not being spotlighted enough, and I 1,000% agree with you. And I think the easiest path to some proof of performance pop, and that Brian Allen just said, Jerry, this should be incorporated into your campaign for board of supervisors. And my response to Brian would be 100% absolutely. And the most straightforward path to proof of performance pop is improved signage on highly trafficked bicycle roads in the county. The second easiest path to pop, and by easiest I mean from a financial standpoint, would be this branded trail system that these ladies have pitched. And the branded trail system could be like the Albemarle County Cycling Trail or Cycling Brewery and Winery Trail. We'll come up with a catchy name for it. And you can get on bikes and you can drive on your bike. You could ride on your bike to these breweries and wineries. And we know about the trail. So if we have the awareness for the trail, if we choose to ride in our cars on the trail, we will be more mindful of cyclists because we know the trail exists and there will be signs on the trail. I think those are the two easiest paths to proof of performance. I think creating the widening the roads, like on 20, I would love to see that happen. But even you pointed this out, Nancy, before the show started, that widening the roads, we would have to literally leverage utility easements, because most of the property on 20 from the city to Albemarle County to Scottsville on 20 South is owned by huge landowners and
Yes.
farms. So, I mean, have you looked into the easement, utility easement?
No, we had talked with Appalachian Power on a potential trail on 6 miles of their easement between Scottsville and Esmont. It would be completely off-road. However, we would have to go out and purchase easements, a secondary easement from the property owners, and there are very large property owners in that
That'd be
tract
tough.
as well. So that, I think, is one of the main issues that we would have to overcome in doing something really comprehensive and serious, in creating a dedicated
Well, where would
trail.
I'm just brainstorming here and trying to innovate. I mean, I try to look at stuff from kind of a business mindset. You walked into multiple businesses here, and over the 13 years of doing this, it's been like every day I've had to figure out a way to innovate to stay ahead of where the market's going. So I'm trying to innovate here and try to think, Rivanna Trail system. Now, you let me know off air that the Rivanna Trail goes nowhere near
Correct.
Scottsville, but the Rivanna Trail certainly does wind through much of Albemarle County. Have you brainstormed at all or thought?
Well, out in western Albemarle,
No, to Western.
yeah,
But
right.
you
And so what they're using now is a unsafe road because there's desirable spots out there, and one of them is 250. And it's not just the size of the road. Certain times of the day, you're blinded by the sun.
Sure.
The motorists can't really see anybody.
Yeah, especially going to Ivy to Western Albemarle. At the end of the day, that's
right.
brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, it's gotten busier.
Sure.
And we have, as was pointed out to me, and you might well know that we have 730 square miles in the county, but only certain areas are growth areas, and then a lot of the cyclists.
5%.
Right. And so they go through the growth areas, but taking these small, tiny county roads to feel safe is also maybe more dangerous than staying on the larger roads because of like I said, blind turns. There's no easement. There's no sides to get off on. People come barreling down there. The speed limits need to happen. I talked to a couple of neighbors about speed bumps,
Yeah.
and they didn't want them on Browns Gap Road. And we have a little more traffic there because we have a desirable spot for people to go to the Beaver Creek and use to go using their kayaks or hanging out. And we've got a rowing team out there. So, but they didn't want speed bumps. But I think slowing it down, you got to slow down these blind turns, these little country roads, because it's there's more people, and then good for the county that they've got a lot of people who love what we love, looking at the mountains and the beauty. But we have to, public safety should come first. And that's another, problem is the speed.
Sure. Interesting statistic for the viewers and listeners. According to Realtor Magazine, the Charlottesville, Albemarle County metro area was the second most popular area for baby boomers to move to in the country. This metro area, the second most popular area for baby boomers to move to in the country, according to Realtor Magazine. And in mention on the Rivanna Trail idea I had, folks are commenting on the feed that it's not a bad idea to utilize the Rivanna Trail for commute around city to county in the urban ring. So the Rivanna Trail is much in the urban ring there, the designated growth area for Albemarle County, which is very adjacent to the city of Charlottesville, perhaps as a way to get improve the safety is offer the trail as another option or improved upon option for cyclists and pedestrians to go from the epicenter of employment, Charlottesville, to where they live or where they may live in the urban ring. Nancy, what are your thoughts on transportation just kind of in totality in Elmore County? And this could be buses, anything like that.
Well, Monday through Friday,
Uh-huh.
7,000 to 8,000 cars go through the town of Scottsville on 20.
What is it? What's that at?
7,000 to 8,000 cars.
Okay, Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, 40% of UVA's hospital housekeeping staff live in Buckingham County.
Dude, those are two really good stats right there. I want those to be burned in my brain, okay? Give me both those stats one more time so I can really burn this in.
7,000 to 8,000 cars
Okay.
per day go through the town of Scottsville.
Okay.
40% of the housekeeping staff at UVA's hospitals live in Buckingham County. Now, would they take a bus? We have been talking, well, a couple years ago we were in conversation with Jaunt on how they could actually pick up some of the housekeeping staff, but they're at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. So could Jaunt possibly have a route to help get people off the road? Then what compounds that is you may get them there, but then there's an emergency at home and they don't have a vehicle to get back, or they have a sick child, or something goes wrong with daycare. So it's compounded by that, just because of the distance. I would like to see some kind of public transportation put in place on a regular basis. Jaunt does do Jaunt Connect from Buckingham to Charlottesville.
And what are those shifts?
I just see them coming and going.
Okay.
And they run on the weekends too.
Okay.
And they do have a stop in Scottsville right by Tavern on the James.
Okay.
So, it's convenient. And there's parking there at the farmer's market that people can utilize. UVA was trying to, right before COVID hit,
Uh-huh.
they were working on van service for their employees from Scottsville to a job site on a UVA campus. That didn't work because COVID hit, and we couldn't do the vans because of proximity.
What do you think UVA's role is here as a stakeholder?
I think it's huge. It's not just housekeeping staff that live in Buckingham and down around us. A lot of their admin staff live in southern Albemarle, northern Buckingham, Fluvanna. I think it's huge.
Huge in that maybe the university is the solution to the transportation conundrum, or is it? Is it a public-private partnership where it's like some taxpayer dollars are used as kind of like the foundation for an entrepreneur or
Mm-hmm.
a business of some kind solving this problem?
Yes. Now, when they started the van rides for their employees, it's unfortunate that it got cut short. I think it was maybe a month,
Sure.
and then they had to stop it. That's a move in the right direction, because it not only helps the employees, they don't have to go and park in one of the garages where they have to pay so much money to park there every month. It can drop them off right closer to where they work.
Kelly Jackson says, Kelly Jackson's a businesswoman in the area. How about partnering with Hop On Tours to help during the week? Kelly, that's what I was thinking, was some kind of public-private partnership here where you do some kind of tax incentivized infrastructure launch where the county can fund or help jumpstart some kind of entrepreneur or business to create a solution for this. Hop On Tours is a business that's owned by friends of this program, Andre Xavier and John Craig, and they've converted and rehabilitated old buses, and now they rent each seat on the bus by the seat. So if someone wanted to do a brewery or winery tour around Central Virginia, they would only have to pay the hourly rate for that seat, as opposed to renting the bus in totality. It makes it much more affordable. So I was thinking the same, where if like, Kelly, that's a great suggestion by you, if we can figure out some kind of public-private partnership, because the entrepreneur in the business is able to go much faster and be much more nimble than, say, like the municipality. And I think UVA with billions and billions of dollars in their endowment could easily help solve this. I'm not sure UVA wants to get into the transportation game. How you would have to position that with the University of Virginia it could be a potential perk to attract talent to its workforce, saying we will provide the transportation reliable for you to get from your place of residence to the job, which would mean you don't have as much reliancy on a car or vehicle and the wear and tear and gasoline and fuel expenses that come with maintaining that vehicle and going to and from work. So UVA is going to be a key factor here. Here's a question for you. This is a legitimate question I have for you, and I want to learn this for the campaign and to be, someone that's in tune with things in the area. Does most of Scottsville, the majority of Scottsville, I hate to use broad stroke terms like that, but does Scottsville want to see Charlottesville and residents from all over Central Virginia, Albemarle County, hitting the town and
Our budget relies on it.
Okay, but is that the vibe for everyone? So you're choosing your words carefully for the first time here.
Well, no, because I want to put it right. I've lived in Scottsville since 1999.
Okay.
And I have not seen an issue with, people coming in. Because, when it's warm, there could be 50 motorcyclists rolling into town. Nobody minds. Well, and we have, car groups coming to town. So
floating the river in the summer.
I'm telling you, 600 people a day come in and do that. And it's just part of Scottsville and the fabric of our life there.
I love the town. I wanted to ask that. I want to make sure we're on the same page. You have tons of ideas. We're 45 minutes in here, Angela, and I'm glad you texted me, emailed me about this, and we made this happen. How about Western Albemarle?
Western Albemarle has new businesses opening up. We have wineries and breweries, but we also have a growing town. And I think what I'm noticing too, that we have more people staying out there. The bread and breakfast, Airbnb peeps are trying to give reasons to come stay with them. And I think, that's why I'm talking about the cycling, because of what happened with my family, but also the idea that to sell that as, you can cycle to different places. It's a family-oriented type of endeavor. I can't imagine trying to send them out there right now and feeling safe about it. If I owned a B&B and said, you guys should take your whole family out, but don't go on that road and don't go on this road. We have to make it safe for us to feel confident that more people can utilize our roads, and for a lot of good reasons. But if we're talking about revenue, the tourism with cycling would be big.
Big time.
Yes,
big time.
Absolutely.
Because people that are into bicycling and cycling, I mean, these things cost money. And then they have all the components and all the gadgets.
We had practically a bike shop in my basement.
Right, and that's common
active.
with people passionate about this.
He was buying all the stuff and racks of... He loved it. It was heartbreaking for him. As a matter of fact, in rehab, they said to him right away that, what do you like doing? Because that helps them, motivate them. And they got him on a bike before he could walk again. And that's the stuff that makes people feel alive, having a hobby and having an interest, but definitely something that keeps your body functioning with the best you can do as an athlete. And not just an athlete, but just a healthy individual. But like I said, I can't imagine owning a bed and breakfast and saying, "Oh, take bikes out and have fun." I would worry about them the entire time. But that would be an amazing, enjoyable excursion.
I see, and you guys really get the wheel spinning here. I see if you can get this trail system in play, that a business owner or some kind of entrepreneur is going to create some kind of bicycle tour company. I mean, you have it for rafting, you have it for horseback. You have it for wine and for beers from a limousine standpoint, from a Seaville hop-on tour standpoint. Someone would create like a tour guide system where you have a leader and you have bikes you can rent and you park your car at a certain spot, and 10 or 15 people in a pack, because there's safety in numbers, would get in a pack and ride this branded trail system, whatever we call it, the Central Virginia Biking Trail System, whatever you call it, and you would get on and you would ride your bike, and businesses would sprout up to accommodate this demand. And it could be the tour guide, or it could be the convenience store that then starts offering sandwiches and food that's easy to grab and go when you're on a bicycle. There would be like a supply chain, and you point to the trail system that goes from Richmond to Williamsburg and how that's impacted it from an economic growth standpoint. That's a good example. You have a viewer watching. Her name is Erin King. Erin, you live in Scottsville, I believe. And she says, "I love Scottsville. I know Ricky's restaurant, The Bateau, would warmly welcome more Charlottesville patronage." And she says, "My little sister just moved from Portland, Oregon to Scottsville, VA." So she's going from West Coast to East Coast. I love that. We got folks at James River Brewery watching the show right now, saying hello to Nancy on the program. I love it. This is social media Nancy.
Hi, Lou.
This is social media Nancy when used for the positive. We got the brewery reaching out to you on the show. This is awesome. All right, well, how about this? Before we close down, I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you guys. I want to keep lines of communication open, and you guys are always welcome to come back on the show. Sincerely mean that. 2 TV stations watch sometime during this hour, 45 minutes as well. Why don't we close on this? How do you feel? How long have you lived in Albemarle County? You said since 1999. Mm-hmm. How long have you lived in Albemarle County, and what's your overall state of the union of Albemarle County for right now?
I moved here from Williamsburg in 2004.
Really? I grew up in Williamsburg.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So my kids, my family was, my husband's an Air Force, retired Air Force.
Where'd your kids go to school?
They went to Western Albemarle High School.
Okay.
Graduated from there. My oldest daughter graduated from Lafayette High School in Williamsburg.
Cool.
But the rest, Western Albemarle High School. So I've been here a while. I've been very happy to have made the move. I enjoyed Williamsburg as well, but Charlottesville really was just a perfect fit for all of us. And then my husband, being an airline pilot, he was flying out of Dulles, so he took that drive quite a bit, and so we are still we're still here. Our kids are grown, but we try to get them back home by enticing them with whatever. We'll watch your babies, whatever we can do.
Yeah. That'll go a long way. My wife and I have a 3-year-old, and we're begging anyone to watch our 3-year-old. Good Lord.
Well, yeah, I'm very. We feel very fortunate that we've had a good lifestyle. But like I said, I feel very connected to the community. I've been watching it grow. I've grown with it. Been around a lot of people who have experienced good things and sad things. And I certainly appreciate the people who've been with and beside me.
Are you pro-growth?
I am, in the fact that I know that I want all people to have a home and a better lifestyle, and if they want to come out this way, because I'm out here, who am I to tell them, I have mine, but you can't share it? I want people to know what I know, to enjoy what I've enjoyed. I'm not a territorial person in that respect at all. I am pro-growth. I am.
How about you? You pro-growth?
I am pro-smart growth.
Strategic growth.
Strategic, yes.
Okay. Talk to me about that, what that means.
that means that you don't overgrow an area without improving its infrastructure.
There you go. There you go. I was talking about this with current supervisor Donna Price, and she said that 5% of Albemarle County is designated for growth and development, for residential and commercial development. So of that 5%, not all the land is actually developable. Some of the land is not developable because just of the terrain, the contours, et cetera, the rockiness of the land. But she said that, look, let's utilize that 5% to its fullest extent, Donna said, before we start considering expanding that 5% footprint.
Well, I was on the Albemarle County conservation easement. And I was
commission?
Well, actually, it's an authority. It was an authority, so
Okay.
we had a voting. We voted on certain easements happening, and I definitely believe in slow growth in that respect of preserving our natural resources and our water and our soil and our farms. But when I say pro-growth, I'm saying I understand the desirability of the area. I understand jobs that will come into the area are good. I don't think that we're going to be any different than any other desirable area, and people will want to move here. That's just the truth. So how do we accommodate that is by being in front of it and being able to say, we can have things, we can have a beautiful, clean environment, which the reason we love it out here is because of the flora and the fauna, and we can preserve that and preserve our water. But we have to acknowledge the fact that maybe the people who lived in compact areas, because of COVID possibly too, have decided that the fresh air and the trees and the birds and the flowers and all the things that we know we love might be something in their future. And how do we allow that? And allowing that means affordable housing in the county. And I realize that our roads are not catching up to that.
Yeah, they're so far behind.
The things I've seen in a very short period of time.
Well, rescue squad, roads, none of it is caught up to the growth.
Right, and here's a very heartfelt thank you to the Western Albemarle Rescue Squad, who got to my husband within minutes because he wasn't far from them when he got hurt. That's a gift to be able to have somebody helping stabilize somebody so the injury isn't furthered and get them to the hospital in a very short period of time. That's another reason people want to move in an area that has a major hospital.
We got two of them.
Yeah.
We're so fortunate to live here.
That's a plus. It's such a plus. There's so many good things.
Speak of the rescue squad, they just went by. We have a couple comments, and then we'll wrap up the show here. This is from Jehu Martin. He says, Charlottesville and the surrounding area have a circa 1950 traffic system. At times, there appears to be someone on staff called a traffic engineer that really isn't. Excuse me, it's the pollen time of year for me. We should emphasize this. Everybody in this room has been vaccinated. We have to emphasize that these days now, Nancy.
Yes.
A year or so ago, Jehu says, one decided to raise the speed limit on a local road from 25 to 30. It caused an uproar. There is, in fact, something called traffic engineering, and it actually works. They should try it around here. Kevin Higgins makes the point, at the end of the day, many motorists see people on bikes in their driving lane the same way people react to someone in the grocery store in a 10-item checkout lane with 15 items in their cart. There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that. He says they don't like what they don't expect. A lot of truth to what Kevin just said. And then the final comment we'll read here. Johnny Ornalis, thank you for liking and sharing the show. The final comment we'll read here is from Laura. She said, Jerry, I watched this show from start to finish. Please continue to emphasize cycle, pedestrian, and runner safety across Albemarle County. These ladies are exactly right. As people choose to move here more than ever before, this problem will not go away. In fact, it's going to be even more a reality for all of us in cars, running, and on our bicycles. May God
Correct.
consider us all.
Correct.
Great comment right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Where should we leave it? How can we follow up? How can we learn more? How can people get more knowledgeable?
Keep advocating.
Okay.
I believe very strongly in advocating, and this is an issue that is a national issue in many respects, road safety. We can get a hold of this. We can prevent deaths. We can prevent injuries, but we have to be keeping it in our focus. And I'm hoping people do that.
Okay.
And we have to really, I think, motorist awareness is so important, and getting them to understand that we share the road. I will close with an instance. I drive on Red Hill Road quite often between 20 and 29, and I got on the 29 end, and there are 3 bicyclists a half mile in. I was going 5 to 10 miles an hour until I got to Old Lynchburg Road, because there was no safe place to pass. And if I could have passed,
and you
a
do the
car
right
came.
thing, right?
I do the right thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
ironically, one of our Scottsville policemen was behind me.
So it's a good thing you did the right thing. Ladies, you guys are fantastic. Judah, let's make sure we get their email addresses. This is the show, guys. We try to feature topics that matter in this long-form setting. I think you can get more accomplished from a conversation and a plan of action standpoint in a long-form setting like this. We'll continue to emphasize this topic on the show. I really like the idea of improving the signage around Albemarle County, getting more signs in the road, kind of driving awareness and attention that this is a road that has blind turns and that bike riders and runners use. And I really, really like the idea of creating some kind of cycling trail around Albemarle County. And this cycling trail uses breweries and wineries as keystones or as stopping or rest stops. And then if you create this branded trail that we know about, folks that do happen to be on these roads in their cars will say, hey, I should slow down because I know this is the Central Virginia cycling trail and people are riding their bikes from wineries to breweries. Awareness is very important. So that's the show. Thank you for joining us on a gorgeous and glorious day to be alive, guys. Have a good afternoon. Take care. Hey, you two were fantastic.
Thank
Seriously, that was fun.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, we like to hang out, too.
We like to hang out.
At the brewery.
These are just at the brewery.
Yeah, is that like a good day brewery? I love that.
Oh, it's.